The husband of embattled Wyoming Republican and staunch anti-Trump Representative Liz Cheney has been revealed as benefiting from big-dollar business deals with the Red Chinese, despite Cheney's claims that she stands against Chinese aggression. On Wednesday, a Just the News report revealed that Philip Perry, Cheney's husband, works for a firm with ties to China that have resulted in millions in deals with entities linked to China's military, intelligence, and security services. Philip Perry's law firm was cashing in on legal and lobbying work that his employer Latham & Watkins, one of the largest law firms in the world, was doing for a host of Chinese companies, some of which were involved in the kind of activity that Cheney was warning had to be stopped, Just the News reported. The report, written by Just the News founder John Solomon and reporter Aaron Kliegman, added that even if Cheney's husband does not work on the particular accounts his firm has with China, he benefits nicely from its ties to the communist government. This is a government so notorious for its murderous behavior toward its Uyghur Muslim population that the Trump administration branded its actions genocide. China isn't the only country Perry's firm does business with that has a distasteful record when it comes to human rights, according to the report. Belarus in Eastern Europe and Kazakhstan in Central Asia, both former socialist republics that were part of the USSR, are also clients or former clients, according to the report. Perry's firms work for Chinese entities in countries whose human rights abuses and authoritarian rule have troubled the US for years, seems to conflict with his wife's frequent calls for America to stand up to autocratic regimes like China, the report added. The dynamic is one familiar to longtime observers of Washington, D.C. A power couple calling out the very behavior from which they benefit. In a statement to Just the News, Perry distanced himself from that end of the firm's business. "I have not personally represented China, an entity owned by China, Kazakhstan, or Belarus," the statement said. "I have not registered on behalf of any foreign entity under the Foreign Agents Registration Act at any point in time. That doesn't mean criticism was incoming. It's the kind of say one thing, do another that Americans hate in Washington, D.C." Mark Meadows, who served as White House Chief of Staff under former President Donald Trump, told Just the News. Liz Cheney will have a lot of explaining to do to the Wyoming voters. Cheney's top primary challenger, Trump-endorsed attorney Harriet Hageman, blasted Cheney and her husband after the news broke. "This is exactly the problem with Washington, D.C." Hageman said on the John Solomon Reports podcast on Wednesday. "What do we find out when we dig a little bit deeper?" Hageman continued, charging that Cheney and her husband are personally, financially benefiting from working for China and Kazakhstan and Belarus and Saudi Arabia. The fact remains that even as Cheney puffs herself up as a foe to China, her family benefits from business deals with that very country. Cheney's bid for re-election is already in deep trouble even with this disconcerting news about China. A straw poll taken at the end of January of Republicans in the Wyoming Republican State Central Committee found Hageman trouncing Cheney. And several other polls and surveys seem to show that her re-election bid is floundering. Cheney is not only finding disfavor at home in Wyoming. She is also finding trouble on the national scene. Last week, the Republican National Committee voted to censure Cheney, along with Illinois House Republican Adam Kinzinger, for joining the Democrats on their obscene committee investigating the January 6 Capitol incursion. The RNC met in Salt Lake City, Utah, on February 5 and passed a resolution that Representatives Cheney and Kinzinger inappropriately cooperated with the Democrat-run House committee and deserved censure for causing harm to the party. Cheney and Kinzinger were participating in persecution of ordinary citizens engaged in legitimate political discourse, the resolution stated. RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel also personally denounced Cheney and Kinzinger's actions. Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger crossed a line. They chose to join Nancy Pelosi in a Democrat-led persecution of ordinary citizens who engaged in legitimate political discourse that had nothing to do with violence at the Capitol, McDaniel said, according to The Hill. "That's why Republican National Committee members and myself overwhelmingly support this resolution. The nation will soon find out if the revelation of Cheney benefiting from Chinese business deals will be the final straw when Wyoming voters go to the polls on August 16 for their Republican